Tonight on Garbage Time Fantasy Football, Ryan's having internet connections. Ron's got to turn down his damn volume. Sue is already bitching at us. It's time for Garbage Time. Guys, welcome into Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Ryan's internet tonight is taking a hiatus from Thanksgiving. It's still on vacation. Ron, how you doing tonight?
Oh, doing pretty good. I'm here,
Yeah, it's nice to see that the Heckling Fandom is complaining that we're starting the show late, just like every week. Yeah, Sue, we did get it up, and we're glad to hear from you on it. So glad you're here tonight. So, Ron, what do you think of Week 12 this week?
Pretty good week. All of our teams won, which is always good. A lot of big injuries that we'll have to get into.
Yeah, and, at some point we might actually be joined by Ryan tonight. But, yeah, guys, if you like what we have to offer for you here at Garbage Time Fantasy Football, you can find us at Iheartradio, Spotify, Google, Apple, TuneIn, Amazon, YouTube at www.garbagetimeft.com. And with the laggy asshole below us, Ryan also does an MMA podcast show. It looks like he's actually figured out his internet connection, which is kind of cool. How you doing tonight, Ryan?
Good. I hopped on and paid my bill. It made a world of difference.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much that helps.
It is. It's like he's running a wires from Ron's house or something.
I thought I saw a strange man outside.
Yeah, I thought so too. So, guys, would you like to get into the news first, or would you like to play the voicemail we got?
I thought it was a leprechaun at first. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, it's because he was right below your window.
No.
All right, so with that, let's get into our voicemail first. All right.
All right.
All right, let's see what Angry Christian has to say tonight.
Hey guys, it's your number one Heckling fan here. I have a question for you guys today. How confident does one have to be to take on a double bet against the Lions and against Mac Jones? The answer, as confident and as cocky as JJ, aka Mr. Pretender, was after winning his first apology bet. Way to take advantage of JJ. You've made me proud. Christian, out.
Oh, not gonna lie, I almost played it again.
Yeah, so
look, one of us pushed the buttons, Joe.
You don't like when I'm pressing the buttons too. So what Christian is in reference to right there is JJ owes us an apology bet, and Ryan happily wrote one up, and JJ is currently not on the show this week because he's got better things to do than hang out with us cool kids. So we're expecting either a voicemail or a video from him at some point this week, and we will happily play it for the Heckling Fandom because, we owe it to you guys to hold us to a higher standard. So Ryan is holding JJ to a higher standard, as shown by what's going to be happening soon. And Sue has got a comment here before we get into the news on the show. He says, I know it might be early, but I put a claim for Alexander Mattison because if Cook is getting 20-plus touches and they're playing the Lions. So listen here, Sue. I think Alexander Mattison is easily a top 12 running back this week, especially going up against the Lions. When he wasn't playing when Dalvin Cook wasn't playing this week and Alexander Mattison was filling in for him, he was absolutely phenomenal. And going up against that awesome matchup against the Lions, there's no reason he shouldn't be a running back one right on the spot. And speaking of Dalvin Cook, we'll skip that part of the news and put it in this segment here. He ended up hurting his shoulder, and I believe he tore something too. It's a injury that he has had throughout his career. He's expected to miss 2 weeks, so right now the Vikings are determining if that injury is bad enough to put him on IR or if they're just going to let him ride it out for those 2 weeks. But it looks like you guys might actually have him back for playoffs too. And Sue also comments that I have James Conner and Robinson, who I might start. I think Alexander Mattison is a better start than James Conner, honestly, this week. James Robinson is getting a lot of volume, so yeah, and torn labrum. Thanks for filling us in for that. And guys, do you have any comments on Dalvin Cook or Alexander Mattison before we get into the news?
I think he has 2 torn labrums now.
Yeah, he got one earlier in the season.
He was already playing through one, and now he tore the other one. Like, I don't know what exercises he's doing, but he needs to focus on that part of his body a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, some more shoulder presses.
Yeah.
Ryan, what I think he needs to do is to get into garbage time, pump time. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. There's something going on there.
Yeah, he needs to be hitting the gym with us at 4:45 in the morning.
Maybe he just needs to start running, like standing straight up. That should be effective. And you'll get hit like here instead of
Yeah, no. Get that shoulder stuff in. All right, boys. You ready for the recaps, or you want the news first?
Probably news first. Don't we normally do news first?
Yes.
Yeah, new.
News updates.
I was just asking you guys because I really want to play the screaming recap. That's all. All right. In our first little bit of news tonight, too, Dan Arnold suffered a sprained ACL and is expected to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. This is obviously a clear drop for fantasy football. He's done for the season for you. Any chance you guys would consider him maybe championship week if he was there 4 to 6 weeks?
It'd be hard to keep him on your roster that long.
All right. So what are some guys that we can adjust on and actually move on from?
I'm liking Cole Kmet on the waiver wire this week. But he's been getting a lot of targets. So if you're a Darren Arnold or Darren Waller fantasy owner, I think he's definitely worth a look.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty decent ad too. Mentioning what you did here about Cole Kmet, he's obviously become a more focal point of that offense since their starting wide receiver has been out. So I actually do like that as a potential pickup too, and I think that was very good for you to point out there, Ryan. Also, for other injuries.
What the hell?
And Joe just vanished.
Did he hit the wrong button? What did he do?
Apparently, I just wanted to kick myself on. Typical of garbage time fantasy. So, in other injury news, Christian McCaffrey is out for the season. That's a good way to interrupt your laughter. What's going on with that, guys? Is just this the most disappointing thing that could happen for fantasy football?
Yeah, it sucks, and I can't recall exactly, but I don't think Chuba Hubbard was really overly efficient in Christian McCaffrey's place, so that's just a tough break for anyone that drafted Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Ron, you traded him away, didn't you? Before you were laughing at me?
I did, before he went on IR the first time.
Oh, my God. Sue is our only commenter down here tonight. You said some guy in my league dropped his whole team, which included Lamar, Patterson, Deebo, Justin Jefferson, and Joe Hurts. So obviously he gave up, which is bullshit. I couldn't pick them up, but I got Patterson, even though I'm the 7th in the waiver wire order. If I was the commissioner of your league, I would put them all back on his roster because that's absolute bullshit.
Yeah,
if someone goes on protest like that,
I would totally kick him out of my league.
Yeah,
he would be kicked out
the whole league.
He would be kicked out of my league, and I would put them all back on that roster and just freeze that team. That's absolute bullshit, Sua. I mean, I'm glad that you got Patterson, but there's a lot of good players in that field that can completely screw your team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Deebo, Jefferson, and Patterson. That's just insane.
I don't know
Plus,
how he
how
gave
is
up.
he doing bad?
Yeah.
Yeah. How is he doing bad enough to give up?
It doesn't make any sense unless someone just got him mad in the league and he just dropped him regardless of what his record was. It must be just something out of protest too. And some other news too. Trey Sermon got hurt this past week. Didn't have a big role in that 49ers offense too. On some more positive news, CeeDee Lamb is expected back after his concussion. So what are your guys' thoughts on his outlook going forward? Everybody vetoed his trade. Yeah, that's probably for the better.
Oh, so it sounds like he's a giant whiny whiner.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, CeeDee Lamb is going to be great for the rest of the year, just like he was before the injury. He almost played last week, so I don't see any reason why he wouldn't play this week.
Yeah, I completely agree with that too.
What
And I think he's going to be effective too.
Do you guys see this pretty much negating all of Cedric Wilson's value that we saw this past week?
Depends on if Amari Cooper comes back or not.
Yeah, I
Right.
think he's absolutely right about that. That all completely depends on Amari Cooper. Regardless of his value, I think Amari Cooper's health is what's going to dictate what happens to the rest of the guys on this offense. Gallup, I think, has established himself as a piece in this offense. Ron, turn your damn volume up before I kick you out of the chat.
Do what?
Turn the volume off your TV before I kick you out of the chat.
You can hear that? It doesn't even that loud.
You can totally hear it.
Oh, wow. Sorry about that.
Let's get Mr. Curly Wolf in here. Oh, my God. This show is moving so slow tonight. All right. Do you all like Miles Sanders and Amari Cooper for Hollywood?
Yes.
No, I don't. I think Miles Sanders is going to have a fantastic end of the season. Hollywood is in an offense, I think, with a lot of other weapons right now. So, no, I wouldn't do the trade. But Ron seems to disagree with me. Why, Ron?
I think Hollywood has a really good end of the year. I know the offense of the Ravens has been sputtering these past couple weeks, but I think they get it back on track, and Hollywood, he could win people leagues, I think, this year.
I think Miles Sanders could win people's leagues, and I was actually trying to get him in trades because he's got good matchups going towards the end of the season, and that Eagles offense plays. Go ahead, what were you saying?
I could argue the fact that he had probably one of the best matchups he's going to have this past week and did next to nothing.
I'm going to call that an oddity because the Eagles offense is an oddity, but I still like the outlook of the running back going further down the league. And not only that, Hollywood Brown has a lot of other opponents in that offense he's going to compete with targets for. I mean, he's got Mark Andrews out there. He's got a rookie phenom wide receiver out there too. For some stupid reason, Sammy Watkins is getting the ball now. Lamar Jackson had the worst game of his career here too. There's just not a lot of good outlooks
Tell me about
here.
it.
I'm hoping Hollywood does because he's on my roster, but I like Sanders a lot more. And on top of that, Amari Cooper's a pretty solid wide receiver there. I would stick with Miles Sanders and Amari Cooper over Hollywood.
I think it's a fair trade regardless.
Sua says I was going to do Kupp, Justin Jefferson, and Kamara, but he wouldn't give me Lamar before he dropped the players. Yeah, so I'm kind of glad that your commissioner didn't do this because it would have completely screwed up your league, dude. And some more news, too, considering really bad games by some quarterbacks this week. And let's talk about these two quarterbacks. First off, Cam Newton is expected to remain the starter for the Panthers going forward. And the Browns also said they are not going to bench Baker Mayfield going forward. Do you guys have any good thoughts on either one of these quarterbacks going forward?
Baker, man, just take a knee.
Just sit out for the season?
Be done for the rest of the season. Frickin' hopefully they get you some weapons next year and you come back healthy. You're not doing yourself any favors going out there and getting hit over and over and over again. Well, already injured.
He's trying to be a Brett Favre and an Iron Man. What else can we say about him?
I don't understand it.
Yeah, he's falling apart out there.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? Both his shoulders are hurt too, or something like that. Ankle, knee.
Yep.
I think I saw something like an ass cheek was, pulled a muscle on his ass cheek or something. I don't fucking know.
Probably. Also, considering what were you saying, Ryan?
I was gonna say the Bears are gonna be wheeling that poor guy out there. Like he's not gonna be able to stand anymore, and they're just gonna be like, "No, you're going out."
Yeah.
That's really scary if the Bears are the ones wheeling him out there because he plays for the Browns. Dude.
I know.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
They both suck.
Have you ever seen that Scott Sterling video?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's all I could think about.
Also, with injuries too, Kareem Hunt was held out on the last drive of the game last night too, so that's something else to monitor. Deebo's expected to be out 2 weeks, so that's going to suck for Ron's team. Going
1 to
forward.
2 weeks.
It's going to be 2 weeks. Deebo is a man when he's on the field, but he is glass when he's off. It's going to be 2 weeks for his recovery. And Pat Freiermuth is currently in concussion protocol, which kind of sucks because he's caught a touchdown. I believe 5 out of the last 6 weeks. So that is something you're going to have to monitor for Sunday. He is probably about a coin flip to start this weekend.
That is something
so,
I'm going to have to monitor. I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, get ready for that one and prepare if you need to. Maybe I shouldn't have brought that up. Maybe he was on your roster and I needed to look into that.
Not in any league you care about.
And shocking news last night, too. Odell actually caught his first touchdown. Van Jefferson caught his touchdown, and they've had as much work as Cooper Kupp last night, too. What is your guys' thoughts on this offense? Are they all three viable? And on top of that, who would you rather have, Odell or Van Jefferson going forward?
Odell's injured.
Explain, because I didn't hear about this.
Well, if you
his back, right?
His back, and I think there was something else that popped up today too.
I think like a hip stinger or something like that.
Yeah, it was something. He messed something else up.
It's just the Odell effect, though. Stafford's going to keep trying to force the ball to him, and he'll get picked off. And it's just going to – I think it hurts Kupp's value. I think I like Van Jefferson more.
I do, too, and he got a huge influx of targets last night. I believe it was 9, if I remember right, too. He only caught 3 of them, and he could have had another touchdown at one point, too.
Yeah. I think Odell's a really good wide receiver. I really do. I think he's got all the talent in the world, but man cannot stay healthy.
No, man, it's – I don't know. Like I shared a meme with you guys earlier. It was a picture of the boat with the Giants, and then it has the Rams logo on top of it. He's like the new Madden curse, dude. Wherever he goes, it just seems to drag a team down. It's just
to be fair, the Rams haven't looked good for a couple weeks before Odell got there too. Like it wasn't just since Odell's been there. Like it was a week or two before that also.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
luckily they only traded away their whole future to be good this season. So,
well, to be fair on that comment, the Rams have been trading away their future since 2016, and they don't have a first round pick until 2024. So this isn't new.
It's going great.
This is what they do.
Great.
It's like how I'm playing my dynasty league.
And with that scary moment, let's get into our scary recap drop.
Wait.
You were too late for it, but go ahead and say what you wanted to say.
You forgot a big injury.
Go ahead.
Darrell Henderson.
Yep.
I didn't hear about this. Go ahead.
He has a quad injury.
Well, Sony Michel's moving up waiver wire order tomorrow then. him and Alexander Mattison, if for some reason he's not picked up on a league.
It says
he's stupid if he's not picked up on a bench spot.
It says he could be limited in practice this week due to health concern. But it shouldn't.
And I don't think we touched on DeAndre Swift either, did we?
Nope.
No, we totally did not because I was back from Thanksgiving. So go ahead, Ryan.
He was too busy kicking himself out of the podcast.
Put myself in timeout.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift injured his shoulder on the Thanksgiving game after putting up a whole 2 points for my fantasy team.
Holy shit, that's impressive.
And is likely to miss week 13. So this is a tough upcoming week for running backs, and all these guys are starters on like fantasy starters. You got Swift out, Henderson out, Cook out, CMC out. Like that's rough.
Yeah.
Well, I feel fine about Cook being out because I'd rather Alexander Madison's going to be fine. I would be more concerned about the other guys behind that. I think Sony Michel will be fine though too if you have his handcuff, but there's a good chance you don't. Because Alexander Mattisson's almost on automatic handcuff when you have Dalvin Cook because you were worried about the shoulders to begin with anyway. I did my homework on that, and I was expecting for that to happen at some point, and here we are. But Sony Michel seems to be more of a lower-end handcuff, so there might be a large amount of availability on him in many leagues, and he could be a good play this week. I believe they're going into bye, aren't they? I believe the Rams aren't playing this week. Am I right?
No, Rams just came out of their bye.
Oh, okay. So, Sony Michel should be moving up waiver orders. Who would you guys rather have? Stupid question. I think I know the answer, but Sony Michel or Alexander Mattison?
Alexander Mattison.
Any question at all, Ryan?
No.
Probably not going to be available on your waivers anyway, so Sony Michel is going to be a very large ad. And I believe Williams, too, for the Chiefs, if he's not picked up, too, is going to pull right back in that row of CMCs out this week, too. So, Ron, you're lucky I couldn't play him against you this week.
And he's probably not available in a lot of leagues, but I think Tony Pollard's going to be a great pickup. The Cowboys are coming out saying they plan to rest Zeke quite a bit. Hopefully have him rehabilitate. I think it was a knee that's been kind of nagging him a lot of this season. So Tony Pollard could be a solid play.
It's going to be the week of the backups right before playoffs in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right, and now with that, we're ready for this. Scary fantasy football weeks ahead. So, boys, what game do we want to talk about first here? Do we want to talk about Ryan's game, Patriots, Titans, Texans, Jets, or do we want to talk about Eagles, Giants?
We don't need to talk about the Eagles-Giants game.
Oh, we're going into that. We're going into all
Let's
these games.
dive right into the Titans versus the Patriots.
All right, since you seem so excited about it, and you can talk about the aspect of the bet too. So let's let you
What
have
a
the floor.
game. So our co-host JJ, who has zero faith in Mac Jones, went for 23 for 32 with 310 yards and 2 touchdowns, both to Kendrick Bourne. He really did look really good in the game. If you started any running backs for New England, you were probably disappointed. Damian Harris did get the 1 touchdown that saved his fantasy day a little bit. Jacoby Myers had a decent day, just under 100 yards. And then, despite allowing 2 100-yard rushers, the Patriots defense still had a solid day. I think 2 interceptions and a fumble. No, 1 interception and 3 fumbles. So a lot of turnovers still created. One of them off that insane 40-yard run that got shut down. But if you had either Dontrell Hillard or Dante Foreman, that was a pretty solid day. They split carries almost 50-50. You had 12 for Hillard, 19 for Foreman. And absolutely no production from Ryan Tannehill or their wide receivers. Tannehill threw for 93 yards and a touchdown and an interception. And not a single Titans receiver went over 2 receptions or over 25 yards.
So which one of these Titans running backs do you think is going to be more important going forward to them? Is it going to be Hilliard or is it going to be Foreman?
I want to say Hilliard. It seemed like he was the one they were. I don't know though, because Foreman out-touched him, so it's tough.
Yeah, and let me just point it out in this game too. I was saying for DFS last week too that I think it was going to be important to get Kendrick Bourne into a lineup. And I was talking about trying to fit him into my lineup, and I did. And boy, was I happy about that because Kendrick Bourne got 2 touchdowns and should have had another that was called back on him too. So that was a good matchup for him. And I think he is a decent add-off of waivers the next few weeks too. He is obviously becoming a big part of this offense. And I'm a big fan of Kendrick Bourne going forward. Do you guys have any thoughts on Kendrick Bourne?
Yeah, no, I think he's a solid pickup. And it's always hard to guess who the Patriots guys are going to be from week to week. One more thing on Dontrell Hillard. His numbers are a little bit lopsided, 12 carries for 131 yards, but you have to remember the one was that ridiculous 60-yard touchdown run right before halftime. So that really saved his day quite a bit. So Foreman might be the guy there. I'm not sure.
My gut says it's going to be Hilliard. I don't think it'll be Foreman. I think both will get a decent amount of work, but you're going to have to look at the matchup and see if they're playing against a defense that funnels running back towards the middle of the field. And if the Titans wide receiving core stays injured, it seems like it's going to be happening because their number 1 star, A.J. Brown, is expected to be out until playoffs, I believe, or is he out for the season? I know there's a major injury with him.
No,
he's on IR, I think.
Yeah, but I think it was
2
just
more weeks,
short term. Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to be getting in towards the playoffs in most fantasy leagues too. So these guys might be decent matchups over the next few weeks. And Ryan, you didn't even mention Jacoby Myers either. 5 receptions for 98 yards.
I did too. I said he went just under 100 yards.
I'm a liar. Johnny was involved too.
It is worth noting the Titans don't have a terrible upcoming schedule. They play the Jaguars, the Steelers, and then they do have the Niners and Dolphins, which could be tough, but then the Texans to finish out the season. So they might bounce back. You might see some strong fantasy performances by some of their people based on that late schedule.
And with that, let's get into the Eagles and Giants game before Ryan gets on his Sealy mattress because he looks like he's tired as hell. So, Ryan, why don't you tell us about what happened with that Eagles and Giants game?
The Giants looked like garbage, and the Eagles looked like slightly worse garbage.
Hurts threw 3 interceptions in this game, so you should at least feel a little bit better about your defense.
I don't feel like it was them playing good. I think it was just Hurts playing bad.
And do you think that's going to be a pattern going forward for Hurts?
You know what? I feel like it's slightly my fault that he played bad. Because
Why?
Because I literally just gave him props on one of the earlier episodes that I thought he was like becoming a better passer.
What you took shit for in the comments on one of our episodes where the guy under the comments said you had horrible takes.
Yeah. But like he was looking better. And then
He was.
Apparently the Giants defense was like, nah, man. We're gonna look like an all-star defense right now.
I don't know if it's just for the fact that your corners were shutting them down, or if they were just making Sanders. You saw Sanders, Scott, and just all the running backs there, including Hurts, all rushing the ball there. I don't know if you guys were just planning on making them run the ball, and you're going to say beat us with your feet, because I mean Gainwell led them with 32 yards receiving. So what the hell was happening on that end? Obviously, they couldn't pass the ball in this game, and that's scary for these receiving options going forward. And I really don't know what to think of Devontae Smith after this week.
I feel like this is going to be an up and down, and it's kind of been like this already this year. It's up and down with these teams. Yeah, they had a couple good weeks back to back there, but I feel like this is an outcome that could happen at any given week. And it's obviously not something you could guess by matchup, because the Giants defense should have been a pretty decent matchup.
I don't understand like why Boston Scott 15 carries and Miles Sanders 9. Like, why?
Yeah, I don't trust this Eagles team.
And Joe, for you seem to think that Miles Sanders is going to come on towards the end of the season. Like,
I do.
That doesn't concern you at all?
I definitely find it concerning, but I play from the bias that you need a lot of good running backs, and Sanders has the potential to win you leagues. And I am more worried about Hollywood Brown's production in that Ravens offense, seeing what we saw from that team last night. No, I really think Miles Sanders could have a decent next few weeks. He's got good matchups too, and Hollywood, playing okay last night. Just I find that offense concerning going forward. I don't know if that might be a bad take, but I just have a feeling on that.
I just have one more question, just because I'm curious. Ron, what the heck did the Giants do on their play with Darius Slayton to get negative 13 rushing yards?
I don't remember offhand. I think it was like an end around or something where Darius Slayton decided to turn around and try to go back the other way.
It sounds like a Giants kind of play.
And it's
13
like
yards is deep. That's deep.
Yeah, at that point, throw the ball out of bounds. Like,
oh my God.
Get rid of it. If you're going to get tackled that far behind the line, throw it out of bounds. What are you doing?
All right, and Saquon had 13 carries in this game for 40 yards and 4 receptions. Do you feel like he's going back to bell cow status soon, and he's going to be viable for fantasy owners after this week?
Yeah, as long as he can stay healthy.
Is he going to actually score a lot?
I see CMC and Saquon Barkley in the same exact light right now, just with more upside when CMC plays. But they're both going to be really good fantasy options, but who knows when they're going to be on the field.
Speaking of horrible fantasy options, Galladay, 3 for 50, Slayton, 3 for 40. Who's going to be the top dog in this horrible wide receiving corps?
Everyone loses.
It'll be Kadarius Toney if he could stay healthy.
Problem is he's not healthy.
Yep, that's true.
So Galladay, Slayton, either of them viable? I will take that silence as a no. We are moving on from this game.
I don't want to answer it.
He's so damn depressed. It's like he doesn't even care.
They won.
The team
They
won,
won
Ron.
even. I know.
I know. It's like they lost by 40 the way you're acting. Like, my God, your team
so-
won. You should be happy.
Someone
Joe had
I
a
work
party
with.
when the Jets beat the Texans.
I know, dude. It was a shitty game, and Zach Wilson looked horrible, and I was still happy.
Listen, someone at my work is an Eagles fan.
Yeah.
And I texted them and I said, how dare you let the Giants beat them and ruin their draft pick? Because this is what the Giants do every single year.
4-game
They
win
will
streak.
suck and suck and suck, and we'll be like, yeah, all right, here we go. Top 5 draft pick. Psych. Let's beat 4 teams that we have zero business beating. And then not get a top 10 draft pick.
So, in other words, they're going to draft someone else that isn't viable for fantasy. And by that, I mean Kadarius Toney's injury. So,
Although they do have they have a rough schedule coming up. They got the Dolphins, Chargers, Cowboys, Eagles again, Bears, and Washington. So you should go on a 3-game win streak there at the end.
That'll probably be what it is.
you'll be picking 10.
Yeah.
Better hope from the
So
Bears
annoying.
then. All right, so let's get my game out. Let's get my game out of the way here too. So I threw a parade in upstate New York going down the street after the Jets won this game, which they had no reason to win any more games this season because boy did Zach Wilson look like shit. But anyway, let's talk about the positives of this game because there wasn't that many for this team. Tevin Coleman led the backfield with 16 carries when all along it should have been Ty Johnson, who is significantly more talented, but we're going to hand it to the veteran, which is on the retirement bed. So Tevin Coleman led the backfield with 16 carries. A guy named Austin Walters got 9 carries. I've never even heard of Austin Walters. He looked okay, but why are we playing Austin Walters over Ty Johnson? Ty Johnson, 6 carries for 42, and he broke one off for 20 yards on a 3rd or 4th down play. So why the hell, again, are we not playing Ty Johnson actually helping out fantasy football owners? So why don't we actually do that in the offense and get the explosive players out there? Elijah Moore didn't have an explosive game, but he did get one end around that looked good, and he stayed involved and was on a lot of plays in the offense. So I think Elijah Moore is going to be good for fantasy football going forward. Wide receiver 3 with low end, wide receiver 2 upside. We saw an explosive week, and you're going to get explosive weeks from him. So I like Elijah Moore going forward.
Yeah, he's twitchy enough to take any screen pass to the house. So
Yeah, no, he's an exciting option going forward. So I hope Zach Wilson actually gets some comparable football in him before the end of the year because he's irritating in the sense he can make any throw on the field, but he doesn't seem to be making the simple throws. Instead, he makes shovel pass fumbles, which just don't seem to work because you're not Brett Favre, bro. So let's not do that. Let's make the simple passes like Mike White was a few weeks ago. And then you can make those insane throws that we were seeing against the Titans and the Bengals. So that would
seeing
be good.
ghosts.
Just never do it. Just never try it. Just don't do it.
He's definitely not seeing ghosts, but
Seeing ghosts.
I'm excited because they made second half adjustments again, and this coach seems to be able to do that, and he played a lot better in the second half, but you shouldn't be doing this at all against the Texans. On the other side of this game, though, Tyrod didn't do that much, to be honest here. David Johnson had 10 carries, 2 catches. Burkhead had 12 carries, 3 catches for 27 yards. They were highly ineffective. The Jets defense did shut them down. But there's just not a lot of talent on this team. The only talent really on offense was Brandon Cooks, who had 3 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. So, again, a wide receiver 3 going forward. And this was the matchup where he should have broken out, too, because this is a very Jets secondary lacks in experience, and he should have taken advantage of that, and he was out for that final Hail Mary of the game, so that's another injury to monitor going forward. And besides that, I don't really know if there's anything else to cover in this game because there's not a whole lot of talent on these teams. It's 2 young teams that are looking to get better progressively, and they've got better days ahead of them. Any thoughts, boys?
I just like the running back thing makes me so mad because I started Ty Johnson in places because the obvious thing would
I
be
did too.
Okay, we have Ty Johnson and Michael Carter as a 1-2 punch. Carter's injured. We'll probably use a lot of Ty Johnson. No, let's bring in 2 other guys and give them most of the work, and Ty Johnson can sit there. Like, what?
Again, Austin Walters. Why?
The dude averaged 7 yards a carry. And I understand one of those was a 20-yard run, but still.
NFL coaches hate fantasy football.
Like,
They
but
really do.
just go with the obvious choice. Do the obvious thing.
Do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
Play Ty Johnson.
Help me help you by helping me. All right.
Make the right move until Michael Carter's back. And that's Ty Johnson. Help a fantasy owner out, Robert Saleh. That's all we're asking of you. All right, let's move on to our next game.
Much.
Okay. Yeah, just not too much, right? All right, let's move on to our next game. The Bengals and Steelers here. So Joe Mixon had a career high, 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hell, did he look good? What are our thoughts on Joe Mixon going forward?
I said it all off season. Dude was going to be a monster this year.
He is, and that's a good call. On the other side of the ball, Najee Harris was ineffective. What reason was he ineffective for? He got the rushing work, he got the passing work. It didn't come together for him.
It's just because the Steelers can't do anything else. Like,
no,
the guy's just trying to do it all.
It's 100% guard Najee and let Big Ben try to beat you anywhere else, and it's not happening.
I think that's actually a pretty good way to answer this, because they want Big Ben to beat him, because 2 weeks in a row we've seen that game plan where Claypool and Deontay Johnson have both gotten involved. Claypool, again, had 3 receptions and 82 yards, which is effective for fantasy football. Deontay Johnson had 95. Was it 90 yards? I don't have that stat
95.
here, actually. Yeah, 95 yards. And was it a tugger? He had a touchdown too, I think, right?
Nope.
Shit, he didn't.
He only threw 1 touchdown, and that was to Pat Fryermuth, who we've been talking about a couple weeks.
Who's now in concussion protocol.
But yeah, like Ron said, they're basically playing the run, making Big Ben beat them, which isn't happening. But for fantasy owners who have Steelers wide receivers, it's nice.
Yeah. I do think we'll see much better weeks from Najee. Damn, does Mixon look good. And Higgins kind of came out of nowhere this week. He's been a little disappointing this year, but people talked him up this week on other podcasts too. I wasn't very high on him, but I was a little bit wrong. 6 receptions, 114 yards, and 1 touchdown. And it's not like it's not like his quarterback threw for a ton of yards. I believe he threw for 190, Joe Burrow. So he got a large amount of this work here. So what's going on with him, and why is Claypool not getting a lot of the work? I mean, Chase, yeah.
It's going to go back and forth with these two.
Yeah.
This was a lot of the people's fear about Jamar Chase coming into the season was T. Higgins last year was the fantasy football darling. You know what I mean? You drafted him super late or not at all and just picked him up after the waiver wire, and he was solid for your team all year. Jamar Chase came in and, had people worried because T. Higgins was still there. You didn't really see it. T. Higgins was injured in the beginning of the year. But over the past couple of weeks, even though he hasn't put up great production, he was getting a lot of targets. And targets are a sticky stat. Like, you're getting targets because you're getting open. So if you see someone getting a lot of targets, chances are they're going to have a breakout game sooner or later.
Yep, the only one not getting open is Odell Beckham because of his back. So,
but yeah, to Ron's point, so if you negate the game versus the Raiders where he only got 3 targets, after week 4, when he came back from injury, he got 7 targets, 6 targets, a whopping 15 versus Baltimore, 6 versus the Jets, and 8 versus Cleveland. He's put up over 10 fantasy points every week except 2 since he returned.
Then why is there this notion that he's having a disappointing season then?
Just because he's not having the season that he had last year. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's still solid. But yeah, it's just the ceiling effect where since he's doing a little bit worse, people are kind of jumping ship on him.
It's the same thing with Justin Jefferson in Minnesota. Up until 2 weeks ago, you could say that, Justin Jefferson was having a disappointing season. Where you drafted him, because he was getting drafted, second round, third round, maybe?
Yep.
He was getting drafted to be a top 3 to 5 wide receiver. And he wasn't really playing like that in the first half of the season. to the point where the coach literally came out and was like, yeah, we got to get Justin Jefferson more involved. And over the past couple of weeks since he said that, yes, now he's having these monstrous type games. But in some cases, it's a kind of a little too late type of deal, you know? People are going to remember the beginning of years. They talk about it all the time. Like, you remember what happens in the first 7 weeks. Because if someone's letting you down for 7 weeks and you're not going to make the playoffs because that person let you down, then you're going to go into the next year being like, that person had a horrible year, regardless if they finished a top 10 or not.
So that's why David Montgomery is going to be drafted late again next year.
Yeah.
You know what? I hope everyone feels that way because Justin Jefferson's been on fire. He's a top 5 fantasy wide receiver right now.
Yeah.
And really, like, the crazy thing with him is it's not even like he started off the year that bad. But like,
no,
I don't know what people were expecting from him. But like, 12 points, 18 points, 26 points, and 20 points. Those were his first 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
And people were still like, eh.
Yeah, because he wasn't getting the touchdowns.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's true.
This is a good diving off point too. Go ahead and finish your comment.
I was just
going
to say I warned people.
49ers. Yeah, no, Jefferson's really coming on now too. I was a little bit worried with all the other wide receivers in that offense, but it seems to be working. Even though their quarterback there likes to line up under the guard, he seems to still get the ball to his wide receivers, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, Christian. Yeah, you saw that clip of Christian Kirk pulling up under the guard, and then his teammate having to come over and be like, "No, how about you try the center before you take that snap?" Yeah, so that was pretty funny too. So Ryan, you and Rob were mentioning Jefferson here too. Adam Thielen got 2 touchdowns in this game too, so that man just keeps on rolling too. Can he keep up the pace that he's currently rolling at?
Yeah, I think so. He's ranked number 10 right now. They're showing that they can support 2 top wide receivers. Mm-hmm. Especially with this new Dalvin Cook injury. They're going up against some pretty soft defenses. They got Detroit, Pittsburgh. Then they have a game against Chicago. Then the Rams, Green Bay, and Chicago again. I see those all as games where these 2 could perform quite well. And Madison could do very well too. I guess the biggest concern with some of these upcoming games is if they get a big enough lead early, do they just go to the run game?
Yeah, no, and I think that's a good point too. Honestly, I don't think much changes in that offense with Mattison in there too. He seems to get the passing work anyway in a similar role Dalvin Cook does. So I don't think it's really going to affect these receivers. So Adam Thielen keeping up the pace he currently is at, I think is going to happen. At least he just seems to get a touchdown every single week, and there's no reason he can't keep doing it. The freaking man has a knack, and it is the red zone. That is his specialty, and he's going to continue to do that. On the other side of the ball here, too, Elijah Mitchell had a day, 27 carries, 133 yards, and a touchdown. And that's even with another running back in the backfield, a favorite run, Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
I still don't know what to think of Deebo Samuel. Like, I know he's going to be out for 1 to 2 weeks, but again, so 2 weeks ago he had 1 target. This past week, I think he had 2 targets, but he's saving his day because they're giving him 10 rushes, and a lot of times they're like goal line red zone touches.
I think they're just seeing that they need to get the ball to their explosive players, and they've seen Ayuk as explosive, so they're getting him more involved, but they're like, listen, we need to get Deebo the ball more. Yes, we like Wilson, but the explosive player here over him is Deebo. So how can we get him involved? Well, shit, he can be a running back, so let's throw him at that position.
I think they just saw what they're doing with Cordell Patterson. They're like, hey, we have a guy that can do that.
I think you're right.
That's what they're doing, and now he's the number 3 fantasy wide receiver right now. So
at running back.
Back. I know. When are they going to switch his title to wide receiver and running back? That would help me out in a few leagues.
That would help me out immensely.
I know. Give him the Taysom Hill treatment where he can play at 3 different positions.
Is Patterson still both?
Yeah, it's still running back, wide receiver.
Interesting. Also in this offense, Brandon Ayuk, again effective, 3 catches, 91 yards. So what's your thoughts on him going forward, guys? Is he fully brought into this offense, and is he someone you can now play weekly without even thinking about?
Joe wants us to say yes so bad.
I wouldn't say without even thinking about, because like you said, he had 3 catches for 91 yards. Like, this offense wants to go through the run. These next 2 weeks will probably feel a little bit better with Deebo out. But I think, you're still going to have the weeks where he doesn't do much for you, I think.
Speaking of people not doing much for you, what the hell happened to Kittle this week?
They ran the ball something like 45 times or something like that.
Sounds about right. So are we concerned about Kittle?
No.
They don't need him as a security blanket as much as what they needed before.
Right.
They have other weapons now.
Yeah, it seems to be all over the field too. And they're seeming to hit their stride. They've won 2 in a row now too. And they're right in the middle of the playoff hunt. So I don't believe at any point this season they're going to go to their rookie. I think they're going to ride Jimmy Garoppolo right till the end of the season. So again, We've said this on the show. Jimmy Garoppolo has a fantastic schedule coming up for the end of the season. So consider picking him up if you have a questionable quarterback position. He's someone you can consider for your playoff run. So keep a look at Jimmy Garoppolo because Cam Newton did not look good like a lot of us thought. So what happened in that game? Because we got to talk about that. Why did Cam Newton look so damn bad?
I don't know. I didn't get to see any of it.
So my thoughts on it, Cam Newton in that game, is the simple fact that the Dolphins defense, I think, is legitimately better, and they play very well against the style of a running quarterback, and they've shown that in the later half of the season too. The Dolphins were effective on the ground too in this game. Gaskin got 2 touchdowns, but Phillip Lindsay had 12 carries in this game. Is this something that we need to be concerned about with Gaskin's workload going forward? He, I believe right now is the rate he's going, he may finish as a top 10 running back on the season, depending on your format. But Phillip Lindsay got 12 carries in this game. Is Gaskin's fool's gold right now?
I'm not going to lie. I've been refusing to pay attention to him just because I jumped ship so early this season because he tipped me off. Like, I just looked and saw where he was ranked, and I was like, no way. So I've, refused to pay attention to him. But... So I'm gonna say I still don't trust it. I don't trust it. He probably have weeks where he does give you solid running back 2 numbers. But I think I'm not gonna depend on it. He'd be someone I'd play in an emergency at this point if he's sitting on my bench.
Would you break the glass and play Phillip Lindsay in an emergency at any point?
No. Not yet. Let's see what happens.
Is he someone that you're going to keep an eye on, though?
I would. Yeah, if he already got 12 snaps after just getting on the team pretty much. Phillip Lindsay's a really good running back that has been shafted a few times.
I also made a comment in my notes here that Christian McCaffrey was surprisingly silent on the game, and then the news on his injury came out. So I'm assuming that's probably why he was quite silent on this game.
Well, he
only got 10 carries.
Yeah, he only got 10 carries. He got injured shortly before halftime. Came out after the half and tried to run on it again, and just couldn't.
I think it's just Cam can't throw.
Damn right, 5 of 21.
You saw that when he was with the Patriots. It was all super short stuff or, kind of weird running out. So if you shut down the run and made it so he can't do that and force him to throw the ball, it's going to go well for your team.
So Cam pissed me off initially because he came right out and got the rushing touchdown. I'm like, all right, we're in for another 30-point day. It's going to be good. And like I just freaking said, 5 of fucking 21, 2 interceptions and a rush touchdown. Boys, that's less than 7 points if I remember right. I think he scored me less than 7 points. So what the actual hell? And you've got some more news for us. So what's going on, Ron?
This is just an interesting sidebar. Kyle Yates of Fantasy Pros just tweeted out. This is the most ridiculous stat ever. Derrick Henry still leads the NFL in rush attempts.
And that's why he's injured.
Yeah.
That is, oh my God.
Jonathan Taylor would take him in a week or two, I think. So we have that.
I just want to point out, like, I really hope I don't know. It would have took someone really smart, I believe, to have picked Miami to beat Carolina. Like, it was totally against the grain. Nobody else was going to do it. So, I mean, just someone real smart.
Oh, that's funny that you point that out because I still kick your ass in picks this week. And even with the game tonight, I'm still going to beat you in picks. So don't want to hear it. Go ahead and count the numbers, Ron. I won this week.
You've got one less wrong than me.
I've got 2, I believe.
Nope, just one. I have 5 wrong. You have 4 wrong. And if Seattle wins tonight, we both have 5 wrong. Joe math.
Yeah. All right, I'm still ahead, asshole. Speaking of Joe math here, we'll go with Joe math. Jaylen Waddle, 9 receptions on 137 yards, 1 touchdown. He's on pace to be MVP. Just kidding. But yeah, what do we think of Waddle going forward? Is he turning into a wide receiver 1? Really the back end wide receiver 1, and is he going to do that going forward? He's getting an insane amount of work, or is he just going to fall into that floor of a wide receiver 2 at the later half of the season? He feels special here. Something is going on here with Jaylen Waddle.
He could finish wide receiver 1, but it won't be a consistent thing. It'll be like these type of games where he has these big explosion games. And you just got to give the man all the credit in the world by doing this with someone that should have been benched already.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We won't discuss that. I don't need to make that apology again. Yeah. Tua Tagovailoa, very, very good week. 27-31, I believe.
Yeah. I think he's something like 70% completion percentage on the year or something like that. He's playing phenomenal football right now.
I was talking some mad shit about him this season too, and I still do not apologize for that.
Who is their backup that you said they were going to bench him for?
It doesn't matter anymore. We're moving on. Okay, so what game would you guys like to talk about next? Chargers at Denver or Green Bay and Rams?
I don't care. Chargers, Denver.
All right, so Herbert in this game, over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They only scored 13 points. So what happened to this offense? Because Eckler got a little bit of work, did what Eckler did, 12 for 36, 6 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Allen also was decent, 7 receptions for 85 yards. Mike Williams, 4 receptions, 39 yards. Disappointing, but we were kind of expecting him to come back down to earth a little bit. So what the hell happened to this offense? Why did they only put up 13 points?
I feel like if they can't get Mike Williams going, this offense sputters. And I know that seems weird because, like, you think it shouldn't. They have Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. You think Mike Williams should be, like, a third guy. But
their third guy was Jared Cook, who caught a touchdown.
Yeah, it just seems like if Mike Williams doesn't have a good game, this offense is not having a good day.
No, you have a point there. And when he was getting heavily targeted, this offense was clicking a lot better, and the Chargers were winning a lot more games. Herbert had a good week last week, so I do believe this offense has different formulas to win games, but they seem to be going back to the one they were using last year, which was Eckler and Allen getting a lot of possession throws. This offense, instead of running the ball, seems to run through the pass, and that is how their offense flows. Not to say that they can't win with that. And it does help for fantasy owners if you own either one of these guys, but you're highly disappointed if you're the Mike Williams owner. So let me ask you this. Is there any chance they change that formula going forward, or has that ship sailed and Mike Williams is just shit out of luck here?
I don't know if they change their formula or if just teams figured out how to stop Mike Williams. Like, it could be they just are taking away Mike Williams and it's preventing Look at the Chiefs. Teams are doing that to the Chiefs. They're taking away Kelsey and Hill, and it's making the Chiefs offense that has been phenomenal for 3 years now and is making them inept. Like, just they can't do anything. And it almost feels like teams are doing a similar thing to the Chargers right now.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of inept offense, go ahead, Ryan.
And I was just going to mention, as far as the score goes, because it is surprising to see Herbert throw for 300 yards, but they only put up 13 points. He was picked off in the end zone, which definitely doesn't help. They drove all the way down to like the 15 and got picked off. And then he was picked off again in the fourth quarter. So those two pits, fourth quarter, pretty much sealed the game.
Yeah.
Yep. And speaking of inept offenses, when starting quarterbacks are out, Teddy Bridgewater leaves. A no-name quarterback that I do not need to mention his name comes back in, and they're forced to run the ball. Gordon, 17 carries on 83. Javonte, 14 carries and a touchdown. Also got a little bit of passing work, 3 catches, 57 yards. So, boys, what is going on with this offense? And if Teddy Bridgewater were to leave for a week or two based on this injury, which I do not have in front of me right now, I don't even know what it was on. Probably should have researched this before, but hey, I dropped the ball on that. Can Drew Lock efficiently run this offense? Because I sure as shit didn't see him. He seemed to be like what I thought Tua Tagovailoa was going to be this year. And I was wrong on
I mean, he completed 4 passes and threw an interception. So,
Yeah.
I think that's your answer.
Here's my breakdown of the Denver Broncos. They're going to be a really good team when Aaron Rodgers comes there next year.
I agree with that.
So Bridgewater did go out but came back in, and I know it was a shin injury, but I haven't heard anything else about it.
The thing that concerns me about that, and I know he did come back in, is those tend to swell up after. And I'm very concerned that Drew Lock's going to have to play this weekend. So if he is, can we play any of these receivers, or are you just avoiding all of them?
I mean, if you have Judy on your team, it's hard not to play him. But if you can have a decent pivot option, I would pivot away from every single one of them.
You better hope that God Bridgewater plays him.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Ryan?
No, I was just about to look at Antonio Gibson, who's dealt with a shin for like the whole season, and it can really hinder your ability to play. So there'll be something to watch.
That is definitely true. And with that, let's move on to our next game, Falcons and Jags. Cordell Patterson returns to form, 16 carries, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions. And Russell Gage got involved in this game too, 6 receptions, 62 yards, and a touchdown. Boys, the Falcons offense came to life a little bit. Is this just the formula of playing the Jags? What's the fantasy relevance of these players going forward? Obviously, Cordell Patterson is amazing, but can you play anyone else?
It's just the Jaguars. So, like, I'm not going to take any crazy stock from this game except that, yes, still play Cordell Patterson.
Yeah.
Any other stock for maybe a tight end on this team?
No.
Honestly, what has Kyle Pitts done all year?
I've been anti-Pitts for so long. And, like, he peaked up for a little bit. That made me look stupid.
Yeah, he had that one game where he did like 163 yards.
Yep.
Has he had any other real fantasy relevant games since then?
I think I'm officially going to say where
he's
people
been
took him
in the top 10 a few games, but no,
that's not difficult to do, though.
It's true.
I think
tight
where
ends
people
have
took
looked
him,
the last 2 years.
I think he's a bust based on where he was being drafted.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. Where he's being drafted, he's definitely a bust.
He went over 20 points twice. He put up 26 versus the Jets and 23 versus Miami. He's had 1, 2, 3, 4. He's
maybe a bust for fantasy football. I'm not calling him a bust as a player for fantasy football this year. Yes, for where he's been taken, but you know, he's a rookie tight end.
All right. Well, before Joe rudely interrupted me, I was going to say he's put up 5 single-digit efforts, and not a bust as a player. He's going to be a great player eventually. But in fantasy, I think he was being taken like 3rd round.
I don't know if it was that early, but it was way too early. It was in the top 5 rounds.
So do you guys think Pat Bryant's got a higher ceiling going forward?
Yes.
This season.
Holy shit, that might bring up some of this. That'll be interesting to see the dynamic, especially in Dynasty going forward, Kyle Pitts and Pat Freiermuth, because obviously
Well, I think Ron pointed out last week that Freiermuth in the past, 3 or 4 weeks, has been a top 5 tight end every week. I mean, he's been.
The reason I think Freiermuth will be a more consistent fantasy football option this year is because they can't scheme him out of the game. They have to worry about Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris, Chase Claypool. In Atlanta, it's literally Cordell Patterson, who you can't scheme out because he's a running back.
one else.
And Kyle Pitts. That's it. So you take away Kyle Pitts. And,
Fucking Russell Gage.
right, exactly. That's my point. This year, you're going to be more happy having Freiermuth on your team than you are Kyle Pitts.
Boy, could they use their number one wide receiver back.
Especially since you probably got Freiermuth off the waiver wire and you had to draft Pitts in those top 5.
Right.
And another interesting thing I just realized, Pitts still only has 1 touchdown on the season.
Yeah.
All right, with that, what were you saying?
Still a top 10 tight end right now, though, which isn't super hard to do, though.
It's true.
Yeah, if you're not top 3, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
On the other side of this ball, James Robinson, heavily involved in this offense, 17 carries on 86 yards, 3 catches for 29. I felt like this came very difficult for him, though, especially early on in the game. It felt like he grinded, it landed down a little bit more as the game went on, but I watched him statistically early, and it just didn't look right until late. He's getting the work, but what's going on? Is this just a shitty Jags offense that is running through him, and everyone's trying to bottle him up? And that's why the yards are coming so tough. They're there and he's scoring, but it just seems to be becoming more difficult as of late.
He's still average 5 yards a carry, which is decent.
Mm-hmm.
Decent.
Just decent.
Just decent. Just
I
fucking
mean,
phenomenal.
I could fall forward. I could fall forward and get 3. So
No, you can't. You're not even 3 foot tall.
Listen, I said I would leap forward. I misspoke. I would leap forward.
Leap forward.
So.
Yeah, like I said, is this just synonymous, though, with these receivers? So listen here. Their leading wide receiver was Treadwell, who is a former pick of the Vikings from years back. Tavon Austin caught a touchdown. Marvin Jones both went 4 catches for 53 yards. So you got to ask yourself there, who's more significant for fantasy out of those two? And what the hell is Treadwell doing in this spot? Do we have any remote interest in him?
I want none of it.
And who the hell even knew Tavon Austin was still in the league? I didn't. Oh, God. All right. So are we going to move on from this ugly fest of a game?
Sure.
Okay. Bucks and Colts. Fournette had a day. Jonathan Taylor, a little bit less of a day. 17 carries, 100 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a receiving touchdown. You would have thought that would have been Jonathan Taylor's numbers. So what happened in this game? How was Fournette able to take over?
He's just a good running back.
That's simply it.
Yeah. On a good offense.
In a Tom Brady related offense and a defense that just couldn't stop the run.
Yeah, and Fournette did have, I think it was a 20-yard run at the end to try to seal the game. It might have even been longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he got his third rushing.
But yeah, it's just, someone on that team's going to go off. This week it was Gronk and Fournette.
Yep.
Godwin fumbled early, so I think he kind of just got put in the doghouse a little bit and wasn't really looked at going after that. Pretty quiet day from Evans, so it was a Fournette and Gronk day.
Any chance Antonio Brown takes his role right back over this week when he comes back, ultimately?
Yes.
Especially if these guys are in the doghouse?
If he comes back,
Yes.
you mean?
Yes. I do believe he's going to come back this week.
I've heard that.
I need it to
before.
be a win. I need him back.
I believe in Antonio Brown. I do. Fake backs card and all. Oh, the other side of this ball, too. Carson Wentz exploited this weak secondary with 27 to 44 passes, so he was slinging around the yard. Not a high completion percentage, but he threw for 3 touchdowns and threw for 306 yards. What's your thoughts on Wentz going forward? Is this just the kind of quarterback you're going to have to play the matchups with?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they knew they were going to have to sling it to hang with the Bucs. So
Yeah, and what's up with Jack Doyle getting 6 receptions for 81 yards and a touchdown and being one of the top tight ends this week?
It's just a Jack Doyle day.
I don't see any more
random.
Jack Doyle days coming forward again. I think that was kind of an oddity.
There might be one more.
Pittman, 4 receptions on 53 yards. Pittman will have better days, I believe.
Yeah.
And Taylor, a minuscule 16 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown. My God, how dare he have less than 100 yards on any day? Like, pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
It's embarrassing.
Scoring 19 points in DFS too. Just absolutely embarrassing. How dare he? Any other thoughts on this game, boys? Maybe some Tom Brady love, Ryan, before we move on to Ravens and Browns, which doesn't have much fantasy relevance.
No, I don't really feel like I need to give Tom Brady love anymore because he left us, and now I have abandonment issues. So
Now you got Mac Jones, baby. All right,
that's true. It worked out.
That is true. Mayfield, shitty, injured, 1 touchdown. Lamar Jackson, historically shitty for him. 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions. Oof. Freeman led the backfield 16 carries, 52 yards. Murray got 8 carries. Mark Andrews had a good day with 4 receptions, 65 yards, and a TD. Brown got involved, 51 yards on 8 catches. Bateman, 4 catches. Jarvis Landry, 6 receptions for over 100 yards. Njoku even caught a touchdown. Hunt and Chubb, both were ineffective, and Hunt is being evaluated for injuries. Boys, thoughts on this game?
I think it's just like what Ron said, where the Giants-Eagles was who sucks more. That was this with this team. These teams, it's like, how do you get 4 interceptions and still lose?
Well, if you were watching this game, it's amazing because more than half of these happened right at the end of the second quarter when it just felt like they were handing the ball back and forth to each other. And then there's more going on in the second half of the game. So what the hell was just going on? Was it just a defensive slug? And this isn't what's going to occur for these teams going forward? Or do we have to be concerned about one of these offenses? Because going forward, I'm kind of concerned about this Browns offense, not about Nick Chubb per se, but I am concerned about Kareem Hunt's injuries and any of these receivers. I mean, Jarvis Landry had a week, but I don't think he's going to consistently do that.
Yeah, I think.
And their quarterback's banged up.
I think you throw away the game for the Ravens. You're not going to sit anybody you normally wouldn't. But you're right. With the Browns, it's pretty much you play Nick Chubb, and that's about it.
Until what about Kareem Hunt? Can you plug him back in if he's deemed healthy?
If he's deemed healthy, I think you kind of have to, but you're not going to feel good about it.
No, you're not going to like it.
No.
Okay. And with thoughts on Thanksgiving games, I've got 5 little points I'd like to make. You guys can make any points, and then we can get the hell out of here if you'd like. Obviously, Mooney is a clear number 1 with the Bears. Believe playing at a wide receiver 2 level right now. Montgomery, while not highly affected last week, is very clearly the workhorse for the Bears and could be big for you these last few weeks towards the playoffs. Could win you some games, I think, too. I think he's sneaky coming into the last 2 weeks. I think it's obvious with the Raiders when they obviously feed Jacobs, which they did in that game against the Cowboys. They win games, and they statistically win games whenever they feed him. So I don't know where the hell they don't get him the ball more because the offense seems to run effectively through him. Hunter Renfrow is a good wide receiver 2 with obvious wide receiver 2 upside. He had a great game, 8 receptions for 134. He gets work. I think Jackson, who had over 100 yards in that game, is nothing more than a flash in the pan. I don't think you see another game from him this season like that. There was a little bit of speed left there, but he's more of the guy that's going to get maybe 3 receptions in a game. He's past his prime, and I think that's a little bit of an oddity. Gallup, I think, will have a larger role even with Amari Cooper out. I think he's established his role. Cedric Wilson is the one you have to worry about when CeeDee Lamb comes back healthy. And Josh Allen is back, baby. 4 touchdowns, and Dawson Knox is easily a top 6 or 7 tight end going forward because, boy, do the tight ends suck. And he had 2 last week. So Dawson Knox was a great pickup off the waiver wire early in the season for you if you got him. So, boys, do you have any other thoughts on Thanksgiving games or anything I commented on?
No, you hit it.
Ron, I love your private chat here. How many more games do we have to talk about? Like you actually wanted to get out of here or something. What, is there a game on the TV you'd actually like to watch or some shit?
No, I'm going to bed.
It's weird. The one that made us start later is like, oh my God, are we done?
Yeah, oh my God, it's 9:16. Are we done, guys?
I'm going to go to bed. I got warm milk and cookies.
Yeah, I'm old and tired.
Every damn week. So, guys, we're Garbage Time Fantasy Football, and if you have any questions you'd like to ask us, you can leave them on the comments on these live shows. Leave them below the episode where you can talk shit like some people have over the recent weeks, or leave your questions there. You can leave us voicemails at www.garbagetimeff.com. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple, TuneIn, anywhere you have podcasts. It does not matter. We are probably there. Hell, we are even on Amazon. Ryan, I believe MMA has some big pay-per-views coming up, so you'll be doing some shows lately. Which week is that going to be?
So this Saturday, it's not a pay-per-view. We have Font versus Aldo. Should be a good fight. And then after that, though, we have some big cards coming up. So definitely give us a look and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Garbage Time MMA for fight pits, predictions, bets, DFS, all the good stuff.
Yep, we also have a Twitter handle. Ron, what is that?
At garbage_time FF on Twitter.
And we're also at Garbage Time Fantasy Football on Instagram, too, where you can also leave messages for us if you'd like to collaborate with us. We'd be looking to do that, too. You can leave comments and questions there, too. Don't be shy, guys. Reach right out to us. We don't bite, at least not that bad. And with that, let's get out of here. Good night, Heckling Fandom.